So this is going to be the first video of my channel called Truth Speaks. And the channel is actually Truth Speaks 100. But I was thinking, so I just left class and I was in the bathroom and these two girls walked in, two young girls, probably in their early 20s, at a community college. So they're young ladies. And they're two Caucasian girls. It's only important because of the topic of what I'm about to talk about. The one young lady says, "Oh my goodness," now we're at the sink washing hands, and she's like, "Oh my goodness, I look so orange." And the friend with her was like, "Oh, you did self-tanning?" She was like, "No, it's a bronzer, but I just feel like I look orange." At this point, I haven't even looked at them because I'm a person who minds my business. It had nothing to do with me, right? So I'm washing my hands when I look up to go get the paper towel. As I'm doing this, the girl gets a paper towel before me and she gets to wiping her face. And her friend says, "You don't even need to do that. You really look amazing. I don't even think it's that serious. You don't really need to do that." She's like, "Well, you know what? I just really feel like I look really orange. I just thought I looked orange." So at that point, I look at her because I'm thinking, if she's saying she look orange, she probably look orange. Why is this girl telling her something totally opposite to what she's seeing for herself? So I look at her and I say, "It's orange." And she started laughing like, "It's orange." I said, "Well, you're beautiful, but it looks orange." And I was thinking about how many times we have people in our circle that try to distract us with a lie, And a lot of people will be like, "Oh, that was her opinion." No, it wasn't. When I looked at her, her cheeks was rosy. She could have just been Santa Claus wife. This how orange the girl face was. It was crazy. From the cheeks down, it was just weird. It didn't look right. It didn't look good on her. But what her friend wanted was for her to walk around looking like that. It would make her feel good to know, and I can't even say that's her friend. I'm going to use that word loosely. Come on, man. She wanted her to go around and just not think for herself. And one thing my dad always told me, or me and my siblings, were to listen to others and think for your effing self, because people will tell you anything. You don't have to take what someone is telling you. Decide for yourself. She was in the process of double taking and looking at herself again like, "Well, is it orange?" And I just wanted to be her deciding factor. It's orange, ma'am. You're not tripping. You're not lying on yourself, or misseeing something or just self-conscious. You're not. You're absolutely right. And there's nothing wrong with wiping it off and starting over tomorrow, getting a different product that's less orange or doing whatever steps you have to do. I don't know too much about tanning. I do know it's a big thing in their community and nobody wants to look orange, Nobody wants to look orange. And sometimes, you just don't know how to do things. But when her friend kept trying to convince her that she didn't look orange, and I'm thinking, well, let me see for myself. We have people in our lives that does that on a regular basis. And what that is called is manipulation. The easiest form of black magic begins with words. That's what they do. It's deception. That's just like Adam and Eve in the garden. Well, Eve and the serpent, that story. You know what I'm saying? Eve knew the truth. Eve was like, "No, we ain't supposed to eat of that tree, XYZ." But then when that didn't work, it went to deception with a smile. Deception masked as a way of, "I'm helping you, And it was like, "No, you're not helping me. You're lying. And actually, you ended up destroying my whole life." Now, what if it's a guy in the class that they're going to that young lady likes? And now her friend is like, "Oh, yeah, she's going to look orange in class." I don't put anything past anybody. And I'm not one to sit up and think the best of everybody. I don't go into, "Oh, they had good intentions." No, not when their actions were blatantly disrespectful or blatant manipulation. I'm not about to give nobody the credit of having good intentions. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. So just be careful, of your circle and the people that you be around, because a lot of times they're not. You know, they're not your friend. You know, I had a friend that I met in 5th grade, you know, and it was important to me because I was coming from a different side of the city. Here in Detroit, we have a, you know, it's a split in Detroit. It's a west side and it's an east side thing. And I was going to school on the west side because my mom, like, you can't go to school over here. It was a different way of life, and I probably would have been in a fight every day. So I go to school on the west side. And in 5th grade, I met a girl, and we became best friends. I mean, my whole life, I didn't stop being her friend till about 2020. Yeah, when I found out some news about her. So we're talking 91 is when I met her, 1991. And for all of that time up until 2020, I'm thinking this is my best friend. We've had little ups and downs. You know, I got to the point where I was doing music with her sister. I mean, I was a part of the family. It was us four: her sister, her cousin, me, and her other little cousin. And, you know, you couldn't have told me that this wasn't my family and they didn't love me like a true sister, girlfriend, cousin. Like, I just thought that it was all love, and I had such a closeness I thought I had with them that you couldn't have told me nothing. So around 2020, I go through a heartbreak with a guy I was dating, and I'm like kind of irritated because I'm a little too old to be experiencing heartbreak. I'm like, what's happening? I should have learned my lesson by now. But anyway, me and my sisters did a girls trip. Every year we would go take a trip somewhere around somebody's birthday or whatever, every summer area around that time. So we going to do that. It's a Vegas trip. It's already planned. I'm sick though because I'm heartbroken. So at the time I was like, I'm not going to go on the trip. So once I decided I wasn't going to go on the trip, my mom like, no, you go on the trip, you do it. You shouldn't let nothing hold you back. It's already planned, already paid for. You just go and enjoy yourself. Try to enjoy yourself. So I said, you know what, Mom, I can't sit here and sulk. Let me take the trip. So her cousin or the cousin sister are the only people I let braid my hair. So I called her cousin to get my hair done. And when I get over there, I'm like, oh, she didn't live too far. I call her like, let's have a drink. You know, we can sit here. At the time, I was smoking weed. I'm like, we can smoke, drink, chill while I get my hair done. She like, bet. I'm thinking this is my girl, you know, since 5th grade. I ain't seen her, you know, we don't see each other as much as we used to. You know, people get grown, live their life. So it was like, it was an opportunity for me to sit with her, chill with her. Her cousin, you know, she the third musketeer. Only person we missing really is the sister and the other little cousin. So we sitting there chilling, and we talking, and I'm pouring my heart out to her about how I was heartbroken, you know, how I felt deceived. You know, I had been divorced recently, like in the last couple years, was separated. And, you know, this was a new guy I was dating, and he turned out to just deceive me. Like, I literally asked specific questions, and he gave me answers. And in the end, he was lying, you know, and it hurt me. So I was just like, you know, I'm telling her about it. Like, I can't believe this, XYZ. And she looking at me like, empathetic, and I'm thinking, yeah, this is my girl. This what I needed. A girls' night, kicking with my homies, let them know what's going on. So this was a Thursday. Saturday, I go to leave for Vegas. So when I leave, you know, I post the flight on my Facebook, and one of our good friends from high school, who was my best friend's boyfriend at the time, she went with him. I went with his best friend. We were like for double dating all the time, stuff like that. We all went to one high school. So he's on Facebook, and he like, oh man, I haven't seen you in almost 20 years. He like, I'm in Vegas. I say, well, we got to link up. As soon as I get to Vegas, I'm going to let you know where I'm at so you can come and meet us. So I do that. I get there, I do that. And he comes into a hookah bar. It was my older sister's birthday. We're in this hookah lounge with live band. It was nice spot, everything. He come in. I'm like, what's up, bro? He sits down. He say, E, I always said if I saw you again, I was going to tell you this. I said, tell me what? Now in my mind, I'm thinking, this man in love with me? I'm like, this man in love with me or something? This is crazy. He was like, you know your best friend slept with your boyfriend in high school. His friend. I said, no. He was like, I'm telling you, E. Now, mind you, 2 days ago, I was just pouring my heart out to her regarding my heartbreak. And I say, no, that ain't happened. You know what I'm saying? He was like, I'm telling you. I say, well, how you know? He told me. And they were guys. They handled it a whole different way. I'm the only one who didn't know for all these years, right? I done celebrated a 20-year anniversary. I don't even know how long I've been out of school. It's over 20 years, but I'm finding this out. It was almost 20 years since I graduated in 99. So I was like, or over 21 years when I find this out. I don't know. I ain't good at math. Anyway, I'm like, no, that she didn't do that. So I leave him where he's sitting. Now, mind you, I'm a little tipsy. I got everybody taking down Julio shots. So I walk over to my older sister. And I was like, he just told me that my best friend slept with my boyfriend in high school. And I was like, I'm not even going to say nothing to her. I'm going to let that ride. I'm not going to say nothing because I was sick. Like, I thought I was heartbroken about that guy, but I didn't know him but a couple years, and it really wasn't that bad. It was like the deception was more so what broke my heart. It wasn't like, true love. It wasn't that. But my homegirl, since 5th grade, oh my God. I said, Lord, you got to be punking me. Ain't no way. I'm dealing with this. And then he just told me this. I'm sick. So my sister say, you ain't finna let it slide. She say, check her like you would check anybody else. Once big sis speak, it is what it is. So I called her when we got out of the hotel. And after we left the hookah lounge, we went back to our hotel because my homeboy had a suite, penthouse, hotel. Me and my sister girlfriend went back to his place after we dropped her off at our hotel because she was too tipsy to go anywhere. So we end up, as I'm walking her to her room, I called my friend. And I was like, hey, you slept with him? And she was like, no. And I said, you did. But I'm too real. Like, I'm too real of a friend for you to even confess that to me. I said, that's messed up, I end up hanging up the phone. I don't think I said too much more than that because, once you heard, it's like ain't nothing really to talk about. So we get off the phone, and when I get back from Vegas, like a couple days that went by, I get back from Vegas, I'm asleep on my floor in my condo. I'm just laying there. I wake up like 4 a.m, and I see on Facebook that it's a guy out there trying to find her people because she had been in a motorcycle accident. So I wake up, I call her sister, I tell her what's up, they get it together, notify her mom and everything like that. And at this point, I'm kind of like, I'm mad because my profession is in the medical field. And that part of me is saying, go see, make sure she's good. I really wanted to reassure her mom, you know what I'm saying? Because I didn't know how serious it was. And I figured that if I could go back there and see her, then I could provide some reassurance, like let her know what's really going on. Let her know that they not just, just telling her anything. I'm going to give her the real. Love her mom. So her cousin called. All the time, I'm like, I ain't going. Like, I'm not doing nothing. Whatever, I ain't going. And then her cousin called like, E, they ain't letting us back there. They ain't letting us in. Woo, woo, woo. So I get up. At this point, I'm living probably 35, 40 minutes from this hospital. So I get up. I drive over there. I'm outside with her mom and her people. All her other biker people across the parking lot. They waiting, These are new homies. So her cousin go back there. She come out. Her mom like, you can go back there. So I go back there. And I'm standing there. Like, I'm standing at the corner of the ER bay, because in real life, I'm like, I just found out you've been foul to me forever. Now, had I found that out, I probably would have been the first one there. You know what I'm saying? But I was thinking, like, you're not my friend. How am I even here checking on you? So I stood there, and she had on a brace, so she really couldn't see me. And she was like, who is it, whatever. So I stepped to the bed, and she looked at me. She like, thanks for coming. And I said, bitch, what else I'm supposed to do? Excuse my language, Lord. I'm trying to stop cussing. I don't like cussing, but that's what I said. And I asked her, was she in pain? Because at that point, I needed to go into my profession. I had to go to work. The only way for me to be unbiased to her and to provide care and empathy was for her to be my patient. So she said she was in pain. I went to the desk. I told them, I asked about her pain medicine. Blah, blah, split. They jump up, get her medicine, blah, blah, blah. And I went in there for a minute. I stood there while they gave her medicine, making sure she got everything. And I left. She called the next day, I think, a few times. I never called her back. I tell her I call her back. I never called her back. And eventually she got the picture. We ain't talked since. But I say all that to say, sometimes we call people friends that are absolutely not your friend. Everybody doesn't have the same measure of loyalty and integrity. Some people have totally different definitions for what a friend might be. And just like that young girl stood in there talking about, oh yeah, you're not even orange, looking dead in the mirror. I wanted to smack that little girl. I was like, it is orange. It's orange. Don't second guess yourself, because that's a form of gaslighting. To the right person, they'll be like, oh, well, maybe I'm not orange. And she'll stop seeing orange. That's how crazy it could be. And what we got to know is people will say whatever they have to say to serve them, to serve themselves. I don't know if it was really like, I just want her to look orange, or if she was trying to be a friend, thinking I'm going to just say the nice thing and then I'll be okay. But see, that's just as dangerous as somebody who has ill intentions, somebody who don't have a backbone to keep it 100. It's just as dangerous, because either way, whether it's intentional manipulation or it's cowardness, you're going to be led astray. So make sure that you surround yourself with people who ain't got a problem with telling you something, even if it's going to hurt your feelings. Because a real friend, like the girl I just told you about, her sister, we got into it because she told me I didn't match one day. I was mad because I'm putting my colors together thinking I'm all good, and she just had this issue. But I would rather her be like, that don't really look right, than somebody sitting there like, oh girl, go ahead, yeah, you looking good, knowing I'm not. So this is my introduction video to you all. Thank you all for listening, and I will be back with something new. Continue to speak the truth.